Hi, this video is going to be a bit longer than normal, so maybe set some time aside to watch it. I'm going to run through I'm going to use that word hack, some of the hacks that I have in our kitchen for healthy food that help bring in extra nutrition. So I guess you could call these superfoods or various strategies that I've added into the day-to-day so that we can get the most from our diets and support really busy, active, stressful lives like everyone. I believe that the more we can do with food, the less need we have for supplements, but also food has so much more. It has the life force, the energy, the balance, the synergy of nutrients. So there's no real theme here. I've just grabbed loads of things from the cupboard to show you what I sort of do in the day-to-day on top of the fruits, the veggies, the whole grains, the healthier carbs, the good protein sources, the healthy fats that I tend to talk to you about in the day-to-day. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually bring you out to my garden, because I'm not a great gardener, but there are some simple things that we can do to make life a bit easier. So I'm going to flip this. I'm sorry, it's a little bit wet outside. I have a little bit of a herb garden going on here. So there's the most giant chive plant ever, and you can actually eat the flowers as well as the greens. So I tossed these into hummus today. They're strong, they taste like garlic, but just look at the color of them. They're going to have a lot of goodness. And I have some thyme and oregano, parsley that never seems to grow for me. I have a giant rosemary plant over here and sage. So, and I'm constant. Oh, I have lots of mint. There's one of them. There's another one over there. This is some kale and an imposter. No idea what this guy is in the middle, but we'll give it a go. So it's just a couple of herbs that are going to be helpful for adding into things. And before I sit down again, quickly take you over to the spice cupboard. So in there, so we have a nice big cupboard. The box here was up there. I love this stuff. So any of the kind of shake on top spices and things are going to be great. But there's kind of like that sumac. I've got like your normal herbs and spices that you would use in cooking. I also here have a massive selection of various stuff that I get from Just Ingredients, which would be various spice mixes, gingers, corianders, curries, chilies. They do some great, Just Ingredients is brilliant. They've got some amazing spice blends. We've got all our curry powders and our garam masalas and my bulk turmeric and cloves and cardamoms, and these herbs and spices have loads of goodness to them. So use them often in your cooking. Add them into your casseroles and we've got a dog here wondering what's going on. I'm surprised the other one hasn't attacked all the food. So I'm all about making life easy and hacking things to make them simpler. I mean, this was my Christmas decoration, and it's actually a €2.99 conifer that should be outside in the hedge, and it's still going strong. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of things that I have here and why I have them here. Now what I have here, you don't have to get everything, and there might be different things that you want to add, and it's all about looking at the weak spots in our diet and how we tend to eat and how we can make things easier for ourselves. And for me, I have a bit of weakness with my eyes. I have a little bit of macular degeneration in one eye. You can barely actually see it. I think it's just that I had a really nerdy optician that she found it. So for me, antioxidants are really, really important. And I'm always trying to find cheap ways to get more stuff in. And my gut is another weak spot. So I'll have things there too that help support that. So have a think about where are your weak spots and how can you add in things in your day-to-day on top of normal foods to kind of superpower them up. So I'm gonna quickly run through a couple of things. What I might do is pop this down so that I can show you stuff. See, I'm using the Christmas tree. So yeah, they've always got a double use for things. So these are seaweed wraps. And you can use them like a wrap. Instead of maybe making regular sushi, you can actually use the seaweed sheet to make a wrap. I would always recommend using a little bit of hummus or pesto or something that's a little bit wet to soften the sushi sheet, which can be, it is a bit like paper. But seaweed is something that's brilliant for us. And although in the presses there, I have got some wakame or kombu, I don't always stick them into things. So sometimes these are a little bit handy if you want to put the filling like you would in a sandwich or a wrap. Like even things like tuna or sardines or some chicken and veggies with a hummus or dressing or bean dip are going to work in this. But seaweed has a load of iodine in there and minerals and compounds that are really good for health. And I'm not going to run into the health properties of everything. We will be here forever, but it's all about getting variety in our diets. Variety, and we would also call that diversity, which is really important. So we get a scattering of the nutrients across the board. So that's sushi. We know that berries and highly pigmented fruits are really, really good for us, but not all of us have the time or patience or finance to be buying fresh blueberries all of the time. So I tend to use a lot of dried berries. Let's see if I can get them. Get them all in a category together because they're full of antioxidants. So ways that I've done berries. Actually, this is a berry too. So yes, there's another one here. So in here I have a mixture. So I use a lot of recycled jars and containers for storing things in. In here there is, I'm losing my mind here. I can't remember. I've got the bitter cherries and sea buckthorn berries. That's what I have in here. So there's just a mixture of them. Most of what you're seeing on top is the sea buckthorn, and there's some dried cherries down there. I know you can get sea buckthorn as oil and sea buckthorn as powder. They're quite expensive actually. I wanted to see how I would get on with actually using the dried berries. They're bitter and they're slightly seedy, crunchy sort of. And the bitter cherries are very tart. We know that they're slightly sharper taste. So these certainly aren't sweet fruits. And I would really only have about a teaspoon of that on top of things. They're not really a flavor that I think you're going to get kids eating. They're just a bit too sharp, but you could probably hide them into baking with a bit of sweetening. So there's berries. Jam. I make a lot of jams. It was sort of my pandemic thing while everyone was making banana bread. But I made a lot of jams, and I wasn't even, once you know the kind of proportions of your sugar and your water and your fruit, depending on the softness and water content of the fruit, you can kind of use any fruits and any mixtures and combinations for jams. I would always refer back to that really old, I think it's a Good Housekeeping cookbook my mom has. It's probably from the 1970s. I think she got it as a wedding gift. And Delia Smith for, those tried and trusted old jam recipes. You can't cheat jam without sugar. Jam has got a lot of sugar in it, but the fruits, and when they cook, you'll still have those antioxidants. That's vitamin C. But I was making a lot of jams where this one has probably got plums and berries and pears, and I put spices like cardamom and pepper and ginger and cinnamon and all sorts in there, and I made loads of different types of jams. So they'll last forever, and because they sometimes go off, I'll tend to freeze them I'll freeze them so that we take them out as we need them and just go through them really slowly. But it is another way to get some fruit and antioxidants in, even if that's the only thing your kids will do. Just watch the portion because obviously it's sugar. This is acai berry powder. Oh, I do actually have it. It's in its original container. So I got this acai powder, which is freeze dried from Real Foods, which are a supplier in the UK. I think they're in Edinburgh actually. So yes, in Edinburgh. I have tried the bulk powders one. It doesn't even seem like acai. I have tried another one from Just Ingredients, I think, and that tasted really weird to me. So this one here from Real Foods, I bought, it was €38. I bought this half a kilo here, and that will last a long time because you're only needing teaspoons. These are really concentrated food extracts. So that's acai berry. I use that quite often and I add into things. These are goji berries in a bulk powders roasted cashew nut butter container, which we're using for storing things. So goji berries are really high in antioxidants, really, really high up the antioxidant spectrum. And they're also really high in lutein, which is really good for my eyes. They're really nice in salads. They're nice sprinkled onto things. They're not overly sweet. So goji berries. I also have prunes. I often will stew up prunes. Prunes are really rich and high in antioxidants and high up the ORAC scale. They'll also be really high in minerals. So I'll tend to simmer them in boiling water till they start to go soft, and then I'll put them in a jam jar or a container and I'll seal it and put it in the fridge, and they'll last a long time and they'll just keep getting more and more plump. But also the sugar content moves into the syrup. So you can, if you dilute it down more, reduce the sugar hit of the dried fruit. But prunes are brilliant. They're also great for our gut regularity to help prevent constipation. So prunes. And this one here is actually not gin. It's just a fabulous bottle. And I will admit, sorry, it's whiskey. They make really good gins as well. It's actually a fabulous whiskey. But I in here have elderberry and blackberry and grape concentrate that I made a year or two ago that's still perfect because it hasn't been opened. So it's still sealed. And I will use that as medicine whenever I feel like I'm getting a cough or cold or run down because it's got really good antiviral properties. But also, there's been really interesting research on elderberry lately that it helps to restore vagal nerve balance. So it's a really good one for helping the stress balance of our bodies. So elderberry is a great one. And you can get it in syrups and cordials, elderberry, not the flower, from health food stores. So that one is there in the fridge. Also, this is a spice. It's called Sumac. And it's from a berry. And you can see like the color of it. It's a real strong pigment. It's from Turkey. And I'll just sprinkle that on hummus or cottage cheese or salads. It's got a nice flavor. It's kind of sweet, salty, fruity all at the same time. But really, really high in antioxidants. Obviously, you're not going to be using very much of it. But again, it's all about adding those extra percentages. So that's sumac. Now, in no particular order, I'll just grab things as I go. This one here is pomegranate powder. It comes from the peel and skin of the pomegranate, and it's really good for our guts to help balance the microbiome. It would be used traditionally as an antiparasitic. So every now and again, it's very high in tannins as well. You can really feel that healing effect on your gut. So every now and again, I might sprinkle that into something or just eat it mixed up as a paste with some honey and maybe a little bit of coconut yogurt. But it just happened to be there in the press cupboard, whichever we want to call it, tomatoes. Pomegranates are an amazing fruit for us, and they do loads of things. So if you can get fresh pomegranate, that's another way of getting another part of the fruit. But we never tend to eat the pith or the rind in it because it's really bitter. So that's what this part is doing. Cocoa or cacao. Depends on the way it's made and extracted. So cacao would be less processed. So Garen loves his hot chocolate in the evening time, which he'll make out of cacao. So even the Dunn Stores one is really good. Or what else? Which other one were we trying? There's bulk powders had a good one. Lately I've stocked up on one from Nuts in Bulk, so that's cacao powder. Does it tell me where it's come from? Ghana. And it's organic. So cacao powder full of polyphenols, which are antioxidants, but also great for our guts and the gut microbiome, feeds the gut microbiome, so we get lots of happy commensals. And then you have things like Cacao Nibs, which I just have stored in a jam jar. So those are the Cacao Nibs. They don't melt, they're not chocolate, they're crunchy, so you can add them in on top of things. They're into baking or into pancakes or onto your porridge. I was speaking with a client lately actually, and she had ceremonial grade cacao, and because I actually hadn't seen it in the it was like a bar of soap, and you take off pieces of it. She was showing me, so that's something I haven't tried yet, and I'd like to try. So that's cacao, and then we have a random scattering. Snacks. This is where everyone tends to fall short because we want something salty or sweet or savory, and we're grabbing the wrong things. So in our house, again, I'm reusing jam jars, we have two that get chowed down a lot on. So these are dried chickpeas, and you can make your own. You can do them in the oven. I can never get them to this level of crunchy. Like these are, you can hear them, they're really crunchy, and they've got a little bit of salt on them, and they work really nice just as a snack, or I'll lob them in like a crouton into stuff. But it's a protein snack, and it hits that spot for needing a little bit of saltiness and crunchiness. I don't know what it is, but and I noticed not only in me, but in clients, some of us like a real crunch to what we're eating. So this really does that. And then we have salted corn. This comes from Nuts in Bulk as well. And so corn, even though we all read a lot about how bad it is, corn is actually really high in antioxidants. It's got that yellow compound, so there's lutein in there again. Same as egg yolks, and same as the goji berries, and the same as marigolds, which is what is the extract most commonly used. It's also in dandelion flowers. So this is a really salty, in here, crunchy, low-calorie snack. Works nice as a crouton as well. So one or two supplement type things, because I kind of think of supplements as they're ones that are kind of food extract typey ones, and then there's the more processed synthetic type things. And I think the closer we can keep to food, the better. So let's bring up a few more things. Right, so this is bee pollen. That's in its original container. I got that from the Polish shop. You can get it from various places. But bee pollen is a funny thing, really. See all those beautiful colors. I sometimes feel a bit bad though, because I know the bee did work for this. I think they I think the way they collect it is as the bees are going back into the hive and they have it stuffed into their legs, like shopping bags. They have a way of knocking it off of their legs as they go back into the hive. So I guess this technically makes this non-vegan. But I use the bee pollen because it has a lot of anti-yeast, anti-candida, anti-bacterial, and very high in antioxidant activity. So I'm using that again just as a boost to my health and for my eyes and my antioxidants. So this is bee pollen. Very okay. And on the topic of honey, this is honey again. I love the honey that they have in the Polish shop. If I can't get something from a local supplier, this one has ginger in it, and it's quite a hard set honey, and it's absolutely delicious. We're gonna have to be careful with this one. But yeah, honey, ginger honey. Then we have Manuka honey. Now, I do think that some of the local wildflower honey probably has quite similar to Manuka honey properties. It's just there's been a lot of research done on Manuka honey. So Manuka honey is honey that's made by a bee. It's not a special type of bee. It's where the bee collects its pollen, which is coming, or nectar, which is coming from a certain type of tree. Can't remember the tree. It's a certain tree, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. Its botanical name, but Manuka does have a lot of interesting research and health supporting activity for health. It's active against Helicobacter pylori. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. It's also very soothing. So if someone has like a raw sore throat or a really raw stomach from maybe something like Helicobacter or gastritis that they've had, honey is so lovely and gentle to take to help support that, while also having a high spectrum of activity. Now, Manuka honey, the real deal stuff. So this one is an MGO of 525. It's expensive. You're looking at spending 50 to 75 euro on something like this. So we don't chow this down like honey. This is more like a medicine in the cupboard. Gelatin, collagen. I've had this for quite a while, which means I'm not using a huge amount of it, because generally I'll make my own stock from turkey legs. So I'll buy the turkey legs. Dunnes Stores are great for turkey legs. I'll simmer them. I'll take the meat off them. I'll put the bones back into the simmer, the liquid that I've simmered them in, and I'll reboil and resimmer so that I make a really strong broth from that. Now, you know that the broth is good quality when whatever you make from it, whether it's a soup or a casserole dish or just the broth when it goes cold, if it starts to go to solid, that means there's a lot of compounds in there like collagen, gelatin, which is really good for our skin, hair, nails, healing our guts. So I tend to go more with the food approach, but this can be quite handy dissolved into things. Or I've actually used it to make jello with fruits because it will solidify. I mean, it's gelatin. So that one, the Great Lakes one, is very good. There's loads around at the moment though, because it's come a bit of a fad buzz thing. So that's that. Every now and again, if I'm really falling short, this is a greens powder, but I think I've thrown in some extra spirulina and chlorella into that as well, and some acai powder. But to be honest, with a true greens product, like you're looking at here, you're not eating them or drinking them for taste. The stuff with the good stuff, which is the more unusual plants and seaweed extracts, why you don't need a product with beets and kales and carrots, and because you're eating them in your diet anyway. So a greens powder should have the other things that you're not getting. So I do really like the Amazing Grass brand, but I don't use it that often because I do tend to make greens juices whenever I get the chance. I have a juicer and I'll put my kale and my rocket and a little bit of fruit and ginger through it, and I'll do grapefruit and orange and ginger for Garen. He's not a fan of drinking greens, but he's really good at eating his greens. It really is about whatever way you want to get them in. I know there's a brand called Athletic Greens that is massive at the moment, and nearly every podcast show seems to be sponsored by them. It is a great product. However, I dislike the fact that it has herbs in there as well, because not all, ashwagandha would be one of them, and I know they're very, very small quantities, but not all of us want to be having those herbs. I prefer when a greens product is a greens product and a herb is a herb, so that we're aware of what we're taking. So this one, the Raw Reserve, has, for example, wheatgrass, alfalfa, barley grass, algae, which is one reason I chose it. So the spirulina, and I actually tossed extra in as well. Spirulina, chlorella, live AFA, which is another algae. It has, that the AFA is its name. They're describing it there. Sorry, it's got kale, kelp, bladderwrack, dulse, and then it has a couple of other things like maca, burdock, ginger, dandelion, acai, blueberry, goji, aloe, cayenne. It's got some extra fibers in there as well, and it's got some probiotics in there. So yeah, it's quite a strong one, but it's about the best one that Amazing Grasses have. So I'm a bit of a fan of that. I tend to keep it in the freezer or the fridge. Fish oil. I'm a bit haphazard with this. I do eat an awful lot of sardines, and I would be good for eating my nuts and seeds. So I do have fish oil in the fridge. And the reason I get the cod liver oil is it has extra vitamin A and vitamin D above just a plain omega-3 fish oil supplement. And I feel a lot of us are low in vitamin A. We know about vitamin D. A lot of people are taking vitamin D supplements. A good cod liver oil product should have a good amount of vitamin A in it. I don't worry too much about the vitamin D content because I know that I can supplement it other ways. But for example, this, if we're looking at the label, and this is the Garden of Oil Alaskan cod liver oil, it has 1,200 micrograms of vitamin A as retinol, which is a great dose. And it only has a small amount of vitamin D, and I'm not worried about that. And it has a good content of EPA and DHA. There are some fermented cod liver oil products available too. They can be quite strong or irritant on the throat, and that's the only reason I've actually gone for this and not a fermented one. So it's cod liver oil. Fiber type products. So I mostly eat my fiber, my nuts, my seeds, and my foods and my whole grains and things like that. I'm a fan, however, of some of the FODMAP friendly fibers for clients. So this is an example of one. This is PHGG. I also use the In Vivo Clinical brand one that I recommend to people, and GOS is another one that I'm a big fan of because they don't tend to cause issues for problem. So this is partially hydrolyzed guar gum again. That's just to show you, but what I do a lot of is, again, recycling my glass jars. This is ground flax. I buy it as a whole seed. So I tend to buy the brown flax seeds. You can get golden flax seeds as well. I'll mill them through the NutriBullet, and then I'll put them in a jar. And I will add this into yogurts, porridges, breads, soups. If I'm heating something, I'll add a tablespoon or two of the ground seeds. You can do it with chia seeds too, which I have in the cupboard. I haven't pulled out all the nuts and seeds because most of you know about those, and I'm always telling you to eat them. But this is a good trick for getting more fiber in. So even with children, you can add the ground seeds into pancakes or baking, or even their soups or their smoothies and things like that. It will thicken them up a little bit, but it's a great way of getting it in. So flax seeds. One nut that you don't tend to see that often in nut and seed mixes is Brazil nuts. The reason I'm just showing you them is that a lot of people at the moment are having issues with their thyroid. Probably stress as a stress response. Brazil nuts have a lot of selenium in them, also healthy fats and other minerals and vitamins and things like that, but they're particularly good for selenium. So even 1 or 2 a day from a good sourced organic Brazil nut. Other seeds. Right, we're getting to the end of the pile of things, and I hope you're getting a few ideas for yourself. These are hemp seeds. A good one to alternate with, along with your pumpkin seeds, your sesame seeds, your sunflower seeds. They've a lovely, soft, buttery flavor to them. So if kids and people in the family don't tend to like the real crunchiness of the nuts and seeds, the hemp seeds are a great option. I use them to make nut butters. So this nut butter here, that is roasted peanuts. But sometimes roasted peanuts are a bit of a treat, to be honest. We don't have them in the house that often, but they are yummy. I'll generally use unsalted, unroasted nuts and seeds, but this is the ingredients in here are roasted peanuts and hemp seeds and coconut oil. And I don't use, to get the blades going in the NutriBullet, I don't have like a high-powered nut maker or nut butter maker. So it can be hard in a NutriBullet to get only nuts and seeds to form into the consistency of a nut butter. So I'll use some coconut oil and water, which means the expiry will probably be about a week with it if you keep it in the fridge. But it's absolutely delicious, and I do add a bit of salt into that. So that's homemade nut butters, hemp seeds. What else is in the fridge that I've been making up lately? I put a video up yesterday of making pesto with nettles, and I had a bit of cleavers in there too. So that is actually a homemade pesto. If my herb garden was actually any good at the moment, my parsley plants are appalling. I would normally use herbs from the garden, a mixture of parsley, and then I'll buy some fresh basil and coriander because I haven't managed to grow those yet, and I'll mix those in with, I'll make my own pesto, or I'll just mix them in with a shop bought pesto to make it extra good. But yesterday it was a load of nettles with a tub of pesto from the store, and it's full of goodness. I think I put in extra turmeric as well. I put in a good tablespoon of turmeric. It totally hides in there, so it's a really good way to get it in. And because there's fats in the pesto, it means the turmeric is really well absorbed. And this was me using up a container of chickpeas that were open. And I just blitzed chickpeas, some extra olive oil. I took some of the chive flowers because they're really garlicky and oniony, and I thought it would give it a good flavor, and some dried cumin and some dried coriander, and made a hummus. And it's really nice. The flower heads on the chives, they're yummy. They're strong. If you're not a raw onion fan, they might be a bit much. So that's why I've mashed them into something. Two other things that can be quite helpful for getting in antioxidants, which we're always trying to do, is rice. So this is black rice. That was from Dunn Stores. So black rice is available in the health stores and the supermarkets. You shouldn't have to pay heaps for it. So if it's looking really expensive, shop elsewhere. But black rice, so this one, I try and buy, I think this is from Italy. I try and buy the Italian rices when I can. And this is red rice. And this one, I think, is French. So because the grains have that red or black pigment in there, antioxidants. And there's nothing wrong with carbs, by the way. It's all about how much and what type. The fibers in these natural carbohydrate foods feed our microbiome. And they also give us energy. And they're also full of vitamins and minerals, especially our B vitamins. And then another antioxidant-rich food I tend to buy in bulk is olive oil. This comes from Crete. And I had to... I shouldn't use Amazon. Should I not use Amazon? Sometimes Amazon is actually kind of helpful. I was buying this from amazon.co.uk, but everything is getting ridiculous from there now. So I got this from Germany. What I love is that the company in Crete have actually given me their contact details so that I can get it direct from them. Because if any of you are trying to get a little bit smart on the internet, and we can't buy everything local. Like I can't buy local olive oil. And the olive oil that I buy local is going to be in a smaller container and it's going to cost more. I don't see anything wrong with supporting a farmer in Crete. So when you go on Google, so even though I might have the intention of finding an olive oil from Crete, the first pages of Google are going to get eaten up by Amazon and iHerb and Amazon.com and all of those people that know how to do the techie stuff that I can't even do at my own business page. It's going to hide the farmer in Crete. So now, where does this come from? www.creta, Kreta, -oel.de. So they're obviously going through Germany, but it is Cretan olive oil. So if you find any good places, and even recently I've been trying to locate sardines from Spain or Portugal, and I'm running into the same problems in that, so on the shelves here we have John West sardines, or we have Shines, which is the Irish company, which are about 3 times the price. And I'm not against paying money. We, at the end of the day, all have budgets to manage and health and bodies to feed. So there's going to be a balance. So I went on a campaign this week of trying to find sardines from Portugal. And of course, every Google search was just bringing me back to iHerb, 1 or 2 companies in Britain, and Amazon. So I spent quite a while, and I found a company in Portugal that do local sardines. And to my dismay, on the drop down list for all the places that they ship to, and they had some fantastic options for sardines and mackerel and other canned fish that they would eat locally there. When I got to the checkout basket, Ireland wasn't there. The whole of Europe was there. Britain was there. America was there. Ireland wasn't there. So I was like, what? So I messaged them, and they said to me that they used to sell to Ireland, but that customs here were charging import duties. So they had to stop because they had unhappy customers. So the Irish customs and excise were treating a Portuguese product as if it was coming from outside of the EU, which is shocking, to be honest, but not surprising. I've run into problems with customs before when I used to bring in products from abroad, and they stopped an Italian shipment on me and did the same, and they pounded it and wanted €1,000 from me. And they won, because you can't fight people like this. But anyway, I said to the Portuguese company, look, I'm prepared to take on board the consequences of this, and can I place a big order? So when I get that, I'll share it with you and let you know, were they any good? Because sardines are, to me now, the superfood of fish when it comes to the kind of oily fish option. Salmon, unfortunately, is no longer the quality, nor has the sustainability that it used to. I know that in organic farming, they're trying to improve this all the time, but if you can get an oily fish that's being caught wild at sea, well, to me, that makes a lot more sense. Sardines are small, they're low down in the food chain, they don't have issues with mercury and toxicity of the fat-soluble compounds that salmon has or tuna has, so I'll keep you posted on that. Anyway, I'm rambled on a load. Have a look at your cupboards. See if you can set yourself up for having more of the good stuff available in your kitchen. Make space by getting rid of the stuff that you maybe shouldn't have there. And before you go buying things, like all of this here is invested in over time. To buy all of it will cost a bit. So think about, where are the gaps in your nutrition needs, and how can you fill those? So one reason I have a lot of these is I don't like to eat massive meals, but I have huge requirements for nutrition because I'm very active. So I'm trying to find cheap ways to get more into me, so to speak, on top of my really good diet, because I want to live long and be healthy and on top of my game. So is there anything here that I haven't included that you have found to be really helpful in your cupboards? Please share so that other people can get inspirations and ideas.